everyone, welcome back to my videos, my channel. I know it's been a minute. I kind of had a baby, but I'm back, and I thought that for my first video back, I would do a librarian related video, specifically a FAQ library related video, because I know I've received a lot of questions in my videos and in real life, just about librarianship, what I do, how I got here, all that kind of thing. So I thought that I would compile a video. Just a disclaimer, I'm Canadian. I've only lived and worked in a very specific part of Canada, so my experience is very tailored to that. I know most people understand that, everywhere is different, every experience is different, but there are people that will be on, say, like the other side of the world and assume that what I went through is comparable. It's not. My experience isn't even going to be comparable to others within Canada. So just wanted to put that out there, but I thought I would kind of give some kind of like general answers, just to kind of point people in the right direction, or in a general direction at least. And if you guys have any other questions, or if you find any of this helpful, let me know in the comments and I can try to respond to you guys there as well. The first question that I have is how to get a job at a library. How do I get a job at a library if somebody is interested in that? So if you are interested in getting a job at a library and you just kind of want to have some kind of understanding, just a little bit like you're kind of wanting to get in without actually committing yourself maybe to like an education or something, I would recommend volunteering. A lot of libraries will take on volunteers. They'll have casual positions for pages, mostly at public libraries. If you are wanting to get into academic librarianship, so at a university or a college, often there are student positions. So if you are currently a university or college student, look out for those student positions at your library. There are usually also contract positions, library assistant positions at, again, for universities, colleges, and also oftentimes at public libraries. These will tend to be more front-facing, so you'll be dealing with patrons more than likely, or as I said, like as a page, you're more shelving, kind of dealing with that kind of back end sort of thing. But it still kind of gets your foot in the door, it gets you exposure, you get to kind of see what the environment is like, what you're interested in, what part of the library you're more interested in. Do you want to be more back end, so cataloging like myself, dealing with the social media, although often in public libraries the social media kind of side gets lumped in with other just general librarian duties. But yeah, there's lots of different ways that you can get involved, but most likely just volunteering or a casual contract position is going to be your best bet to get in. The next question is an MLIS or an MIS or an MLS, any kind of variation of a Master's of Library Information Science degree. I have an MLIS. Some people have an MLS, which is just a Library Science Master's. MIS, Information Science. It depends on the school that you want to go to and all that. Just, we'll get into that a little bit later, but they're all essentially the same thing. Can I apply with any background? Yes. Oftentimes, if you come from any kind of background, that will be informing what your kind of your route will be, what you're going to be interested in. So especially if you are looking into academic librarianship, having, say, like a science degree, that might help you get into becoming a science librarian. Because for academic librarian positions, usually they like you to have 2 degrees, which doesn't happen all the time. It's requires someone that has had a lot of dedication, a lot of schooling. So if you have a science degree and a library degree, you have a higher chance of getting one of those subject librarian positions, or, you know, history and an MLIS, or anything like that. And even if you just have like a college background, anything, usually they require to have either a bachelor degree or some kind of diploma. So you're going into it because it is still a master's program. So you still need to have had that kind of bachelor, like general education sort of thing. But you don't have to come in from, say, like an English background. You can come in from anything. And often the better experiences are more varied because you're having that different kind of experience to go in, and then you're interacting with other people that are coming from different backgrounds too, and it's kind of fun to be able to interact with everyone in your schooling. Do I need it? Yes, for a management position. If you want to be a librarian, if you want to be a library manager, director, you need an MLIS or equivalent. Do you want it, or do you need it if you just want to be a library assistant, a page, just something basic? No, you absolutely do not. You can get a library technician diploma. You honestly don't even need those. You can just go in, like I said, if you're getting in with your volunteering contract position, it can be harder to get a position without either having an MLIS or previous library experience, but it is possible. So you don't need to get the master's degree if you do not want it. What does it take to apply? Everyone is different. Like I said before, it depends on the school that you're going to go to. My school that I went to required a resume, references from 3 professors, your previous grades, and a letter saying why you wanted to be in this program. And it didn't have to be very long. It just had to be maximum 1 page, but you didn't have to fill out a full page. Mine was only like 2 paragraphs. And it was me being like, I want this job. I need this degree to get said job. And they were like, okay, that checks out. The next question is, what can I do with this degree? So you can do a lot. Again, it really depends on what kind you're doing. Is it the MLIS, the MLS, the MIS? Different schools will have different focuses. So my school kind of was more of a general. You could pick, do you want to focus, like yourself, do you want to focus on public librarianship, academic librarianship, information specialties, knowledge specialties, archives, records management, all of that. You kind of pick. Other schools will kind of pick for you. So like the I school in Toronto, that one is more information science based. It's an MIS program. There is one at McGill, I believe, in Montreal, that is an MLS, so library science. So you're going to pick really, like, are you going into public librarianship, academic librarianship, a special library, but you're kind of picking and you're following that path all the way through, as far as I know. But basically, what that means is you're going to have a nice foundation for whatever you want to go into. So if you want to do information science as opposed to library science, you're going to be able to work in, say, like city governments or other levels of government. You can work for different corporations. A lot of larger companies will have what is called a special library, which is a library of resources for that company. Or archives. You can also work on archives. It's not just a library, a public library, a university library. There's a lot of different things that you can do with that. So it's kind of just up to you and the master's degree that you get and the courses that you take and where you kind of see yourself going. Salary, everyone's favorite question. How much do you make? I'm not going to disclose that because that is personal information. However, it's a range. Library assistants obviously don't make as much as a librarian. Librarians have different requirements, different rigors to obviously get the job. A page obviously makes less than a library assistant. Public librarians tend to make less than than academic librarians. School librarians will kind of make a little bit in between, depending. But yeah, it really just depends on what kind of library position you are going for, what business are you working for, essentially, because even if you're working for a public library, it's still a business. You're working for the municipality that you're part of usually. So it just kind of ranges, but the salaries tend to range, if we're going to look at them as a whole, tend to range between 35,000 Canadian to up to 200,000 Canadian a year. Again, it depends. The 200,000, you're like top. That's like the Library and Archives librarian of Canada. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty high up. So it just really depends on the position, where, if it's part-time, full-time, all of that kind of thing, etc. What are the different types of librarians? I've kind of touched on them a little bit, but just to kind of break it down a little bit more, you tend to have your public librarians. So those are just at your regular public libraries. Not all staff there are librarians, but the kind of manager staff will be librarians. Academic librarians work at universities, colleges, cégep, that kind of thing. School librarians, these tend to also require a BEd. So if you have your education degree as well, not always, but often they don't really like hiring you if you have your MLIS because you're too expensive now, but that is another form of librarianship. There are special librarians, special libraries. Like I said, those are typically for corporations, a radio, all of that kind of thing. They're very specialized. It's usually a very specific focus that they work on. And then what are different information management roles? So you have your archives, records management, a knowledge manager, which typically deals with logistics. Record management typically deals with like an RTIPA, freedom of information to release. And then you have municipal clerks, which is more information management. Again, you're working for government. A lot of those positions for information management are for government. I'm going to link some job sites in the description. Most of these will be Canadian, but I will try to include some international links as well, just so you can kind of see what jobs are available, what are the ranges, what are the requirements. There might be something more specific that you want, and then you can kind of look at what you're kind of going for and see what you need to have in order to accomplish what you want. And just to kind of wrap everything up, library roles are very customer heavy typically, especially if you are in the public library sector. You are going to be dealing with the public a lot. And by a lot, I mean often even more so than customer service. I was in customer service for 15 years. And by the end of it, I was over it. I very much wanted to be behind the scenes, stalking, dealing with very specific people. I just did not want to be dealing with the public. I was burnt out. I'm not the person for that. So when I entered school for my LLIS, I knew I wanted to focus on an aspect that was less public heavy. But even if you go into archives, which a lot of people think it's like quiet, you're working in a basement, which oftentimes you are still dealing with the public. You still have to deal with requests. You still have to interact with patrons. You have to pull information. You have to mediate with them. It's a huge thing. So please don't enter librarianship or come into this looking for an education thinking you're just going to sit in a back room and read. That's not always the case. Even in my job, like I do tend to just sit in my office a lot and do my work, but there are aspects of it that require me to go interact with people, interact with maybe not necessarily patrons, but interact with other departments, other people. So I'm still having to put on that kind of customer service aspect sometimes. So just so you're aware, that can be a very important part of the job that a lot of people enter archives, libraries, information management, thinking that they're going to be able to get away with it, and you're not. You can have even more demands, especially if you are working at a public library or a school library, like an elementary, high school library. You're going to have even more demands. With those libraries, you're tending to deal with homelessness, sometimes drug abuse, just general hooligans like youths that are just, wanting to cause trouble, or adults wanting to cause trouble. You will deal with people wanting to watch porn at the library, and you will have to be able to interact with those people and shut that down, because obviously you can't have someone watching porn in the same building or the same room where there are, like 5-6-year-olds playing, right? And it's the same thing for school libraries. Obviously, you're dealing with students as opposed to just the general public, but being able to interact with kids and being able to have those relationships is a very important role. So being able to interact, especially if you're at an elementary school, with kids from ages, say like 4 to 12, 13. That's a pretty big ask for some people. So just be aware those are requirements that you will need to have. That's all that I can think of for you right now. If you guys have any other questions, like I said, leave them in the comments below and I will try to get back to you as quickly as possible. If you have experience from yourself, if you work in other parts of the world, other librarian positions, if you want to leave your own comments, your experience, education, etc. down below, feel free. I think it's great that we can all kind of like come together with different experiences and really, it's all libraries, it's all books, it's all information. It's great to have all this access to different items, and everyone gets to experience them in different ways and different abilities. So anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye!